morning, everybody. We'll just wait 1 or 2 more minutes and then we will get started. Okay, cool. Thanks, everyone. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for joining us today. We might get started. So my name is Summer. I'm the Project and Events Manager for MPAQ, and today I'll just be moderating the session. Our speaker for today is Dylan from Podium, and he's going to be talking to us about the 6 local SEO myths that need busting and how you can improve your online reputation accordingly. We will take some time to do a Q&A at the end, and we are recording the session today. If you want to submit a question for Dylan, you can do so in the chat on the right-hand side of the screen, if you haven't found that already. And you can choose to make your question viewable by everybody. Just down the bottom there, it says send to everyone, or you can change that to just be viewable by admin, which is myself. So as I said, today's webinar, we are presenting it in partnership with Podium, who are a corporate supporter of MPAQ, and Dylan is going to be presenting for us. He's an account executive for Podium. Good morning, Dylan. Thanks for joining us. Do you want to tell us a bit about Podium before we get started?
Yeah, sure do. Thanks so much, Summer. Yeah, Podium. Look, I'm guessing a few of in the room may have heard about us beforehand. If not, please feel free to chat through and chat to us, and I'm more than happy to give you a bit more of an introduction afterwards as well. But from our side, essentially, Podium is a text tool. We want to make it really easy for you guys to communicate with your customers, but more importantly, what this webinar is about, help you show up in local search. That is the really big piece for us, is trying to make sure that we're working with you guys to get found, get chosen, and get connected with your customers.
Awesome. Sounds good. I will hand things over to you to kick us off, and I'll come back at the end and we'll do a bit of a Q&A together.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Summer. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining. Obviously, the session today, leveraging local SEO marketing, why and how you should optimize your local Google Map listing. So really cool part about this SEO. I'm obviously, referring to search engine optimization. It is an incredibly complex algorithms that go into it, and we want to bust some myths behind it, show you how we can simplify it, and really ultimately try and bring it into some terms that we can all understand and all work towards as well. So the agenda, as I'm going to run through the 6 biggest local SEO myths, we're then going to take you through to how to get your business ranking higher in local search. And then what we're experts in as well is just generating more reviews and a step-by-step guide on just how we can do that as well. So let me jump in. Welcome, Dylan. I have been working with Podium. I'm quite lucky. I joined the team quite early on in the piece. I think it was the fourth Australian hire here. We've now, in 2 years, the team's really seen a lot of growth. We're looking at around 60 of us now, which has been really cool. And I'm excited to take you through my learnings that I've learned throughout this process as well. A lot of the information that I'm presenting through has been built out in my knowledge base from the last 2 years working at Podium. So I'm excited to take you through. Let's bust some of those local SEO myths. So first myth number one, organic search and local SEO are the same thing. This myth is very much false. We hear a lot from you guys around, like working through with the large range of plumbers that we're working with at the moment is, I've already got a guy looking after my SEO and those types of things. It is, I love that all of you are doing that, but there are so many different elements that we can focus on. And what we really work with is in local SEO. So organic SEO is based on relevance to search terms. So as we look through, to give you an example of this, organic SEO is something along the lines of, cool, if I search for toothpaste, what's going to show? The results are going to be articles, things that are related to toothpaste. Local SEO is that piece around location signals. So toothpaste near me will actually show all the stores around you that sell toothpaste and the people that are searching for it. So what that means for you guys is we really break down the different elements and different types of jobs that you do on a daily basis. Like organic SEO, for example, that same thing. If we search for a hot water system, that's going to bring up a lot of your manufacturers and those types of things as you search for hot water systems. But as you search for hot water system near me, that's where you guys shine. That's the piece of cool. That's location signals. That's who we really want to be working with. So just under 50% of all Google searches are looking for local information, especially from last year. I know a lot of things have, it was quite a crazy year, but we're in an age now where people are striving to work local. They want to make, people want to help out the small businesses. And that's really where it comes in. We want to optimize for your local search and your local SEO to make sure that, we can help you generate the leads coming through to help you really stand out in your local environment. So local SEO is triggered when that search is plumber near me. Right, makes sense for you guys as a business. It also makes sense from the customer. They want to work local. You obviously want to work in quite a tight knit, less travel time, less things like that. And that's what's triggered in that MPAQ. So those 3 search results that come up, the A, B, and C businesses is what will pop up in those results. And that's really what those different elements that I'm going to talk about and a few more myths, we're going to try and help, expose that side of the business more and really activate that local SEO for you based on those location signals. Let's jump through. Myth number 2, reviews are a nice to have. That even pains me to say that, if I'm honest, but let's jump through. That is another myth. It's false. This is actually ever changing within Google's side of things. They obviously play around with the algorithm quite a lot to try and optimize for the customers and for you as a business to keep on guessing as well. So let's run through some of the must-haves around reviews. They really are a must-have in this day and age. It's not only to influence, it isn't just influencing your customers, it's influencing Google at the end of the day as well. So they're rapidly increasing the weight that is thrown into your Google reviews. But the crazy thing about Aussies and how we look into this is some Australian-centric data. 82% of Aussies will read an online review for a local business before they purchase. So nearly all of your customers will have a look through. 48% of those will only pay attention to the reviews that are left in the last 2 weeks. Let that sink in. That's nearly half of your customers are only going to pay attention to those really relevant and new reviews that are coming through, which is a really critical piece and something that we're constantly working towards. It's not just about like that overall star rating. It's that really generating a really healthy amount of consistent reviews to not only prove to your customers that you're still fresh, relevant, and all of those things, you want to prove it to Google as well. And that's really what we're working with in terms of the review side. Consumers have said they have read at least 10 online reviews, so you need a total of at least 10 before you can trust before they trust a local business. So from a customer side, even if it's a perfect 5-star rating, as we're talking about Google, if you do have under 10 reviews overall, consumers are saying that they don't really trust those ratings yet. Another shocking one, I hope this doesn't affect many people in the room, but 47% of customers, of Australian customers, would not engage with a business that has under a 4-star rating on Google. We don't want those to happen. We know, and Google knows as a business as well, that you can't appease everyone. So when it comes to the reviews, what is going to happen? The more positive reviews you get, Google reviews actually work on a bell curve. So the more positive reviews you get, even if you get the one customer that's been a little bit of a pain from start to finish, and they leave you a 1 or 2-star review, which is going to overall hurt your ranking. But if you do have a really consistent flood of positive 5-star customers coming through, hearing from your happy customers is actually going to drown out those 1 and 2-star reviews, which is super, super important, not only for your online reputation, which is so critical, but from your side as well. Obviously, trying to address any of those issues if negative reviews are coming through for you guys as well. These are so some of the more stats that we broke down on this. So 84% are influenced. Only 7% of Australians would consider that last piece of businesses that are in the 1 to 2 stars. We obviously don't want to ever be down in that 1 to 2 star level, which is really, really tough if we are in that situation. But never mind, you should never give up on your Google reviews, given how critical they are in terms of ranking in local search, but then also just from your customers' perspective as well in terms of trust. Myth number 3, as we jump in, so the way consumer discovers businesses hasn't changed that much over the past few years. I'm sure most of you can see the theme of what is going on here, but that is very much a big myth. Things have changed a lot, and it's really hard to keep up. That is definitely definitely a fact. So the way consumers discover your business is changing, and we need to try and keep up with the times coming through. So from that side, 81% of the population now own a smartphone. That's actually risen by 10% in the last 4 years again. So 81% of the population own a smartphone, and that's typically how they're searching through. So 78% of location-based mobile searches result in a purchase offline. Now, that's always going to be nearly always going to be the case. For us here, we're in home services. We don't make any money off an online purchase. We obviously make money when we're in home quoting, doing those types of things. So we really want to be showing up in those local-based searches, as that's where most of our consumers are. So when it comes to that side, focusing on Google, I know there's a lot of focus. There's so much to worry about when it comes to an online reputation. So when it comes to it, you obviously need to monitor Facebook, you need to look after Instagram, you need to look after the website, you need to look after all of those factors. And I get for a lot of local businesses, it's not in the too hard basket. It's just you don't have the bandwidth to learn about all of these things coming through. The facts of this is everything's important, but when it comes to customer search, 95% of that will start on Google. Even if it's been a personal recommendation from a friend, even if if a friend recommends a restaurant to me, I still have to Google it to put in a reservation, to get driving directions. We are really relying on it as an Australian society. So that's really what we want to be focusing on, bringing up that MPAQ in, because that's what the consumer data is telling us they're doing. And that's where we want to meet them. Like if they're using local search, obviously in years gone by, yellow pages and those types of things were some of the biggest ways that we could generate revenue as a business. And all of those factors are still very important if you are generating business through that way. But all age demographics that we see right across the board are actually generating most of that. Well, 95% of that is coming through from Google, which is what we definitely want to be looking after from that side. This is a very interesting one when it comes to online leads and looking after those things. So myth number 4, consumers want the cheapest in the area. Now that's definitely a factor. Cost is always going to be a really big factor when it comes to that. But I'm going to show some pretty interesting things that I think will actually surprise a few of you. So consumers wanting the cheapest in the area, it's actually false. When it comes to search, consumers want the best and they want it close by. So when it comes to search terms that we see in Google, we'll actually have a coming up next for you. Near me is, or close by, grew more than 900% over the last couple of years. So for those things, we want to see that you're showing up. Reviews are actually a really big factor within that as well. When it comes to searching out best, that actually disqualifies anything under a 4-star rating on Google. Not a very well-known fact, but as you type in best, you can try this out yourself. If you type in restaurant near me and then type in best restaurant near me as an example, or do it for your own business, so plumber near me or best plumber near me, it will actually skew the results based on the reviews that are coming through. So the most prominent searches when we look at Google Trends, this is a free tool, by the way. You can definitely compare it. I've just done it for Australia for the last 12 months. When it comes to the search terms that people have in their Google searches, cheapest as a search term barely ranks. Best and near me are the most prominent. We're seeing a huge growth over the last 5 years within this. Cheapest was definitely one of the terms that was a little bit more relevant, but people are more and more searching for, the local side as well as the best that are coming through from that as well. So just chatting a little bit further of this, when it comes to ranking in those searches and showing, one of the craziest things around showing up on Google searches is that it's pretty well documented, around 50% of consumers will actually choose the first business that gets back to them. When it comes to that, I know how time consuming it is. Obviously, we have all the different quotes coming in. We have all of those different avenues coming in. But that's really what we've seen from when people are looking for cheap, for example, that isn't always the case. If people really do feel they're going to be looked after and, well looked out through the entire customer journey, they're happy to pay for it. And that's really replicated in what we have seen within the Google searches as well. It's definitely something that was quite a shock to me looking into this myself. But we really do want to be, I guess, proving again to Google, proving to everyone that when it comes to local search, we're ranking really well. And then making sure that we are one of the first businesses that gets back to people, especially when it comes to in your local area. If there are a few different plumbers that are ranking on that MPAQ that are very close in terms of reviews, some of the data shows that people will put in like different quotes into like a few different businesses. But 50% of those will actually be chosen on who feels they're going to be looked after the most from the customer's side. And that's something that, we're obviously really encouraging here as well at Podium. We work so hard to get found. We want to give you every chance to get chosen in that second avenue as well. Obviously, it was mentioned at the start, but if you have any questions, any challenges on anything that I've come through, feel free to throw them in the chat. We do have some great time for Q&A after as well from the session. Jumping through into print number 5. Print and online advertising drives in-person visits. This is, again, quite an interesting one. It is another myth, is false. The data that we are seeing now is that local smartphone searches drive in-person visits. Your Google My Business page is now your digital storefront. I know we've never had a storefront from those types of things, whether it be your website, whether it be whether it be Yellow Pages ads, all of those different avenues, whether it be like flyering and putting that into people's letterboxes. What we're now seeing is that quality and convenience and your online reviews are going to speak 1,000 words when it comes to this. So 88% of searches for local businesses are on a mobile device. Either call or visit the business within 24 hours. People want it now. We're in a convenience economy. Obviously, Uber, Amazon, Netflix, all of those different avenues, every customer wants things now. And now that we have these supercomputers in our pockets, that's something that we really, really need to take a really strong priority on, is showing up within these. This one is quite crazy, that 85% of consumers say that they've actually looked up a business's reviews while they're outside a storefront to decide whether or not they'll go in. Obviously, from your side, this would be, say, after they've booked in a job, people could potentially pull out as you're driving through to their house. I know that's our worst nightmare from a home services side. We don't want people not rocking up to anything. Well, you guys are rocking up and they're not home or not present. But that is a really, really big factor when it comes to it. So looking after all of those processes, we want to be positively influencing the customer through every single different touch point that we have with them. And the really great part about that is people do have confirmation bias. So if they see cool 200, like 5-star, 250 reviews, they've already assured themselves in their head that you're the right business to look after them because 250 other customers are telling them so. And that's really what we want to work with, is that not only from that really first positive inquiry all the way throughout that customer touch point, every part of the customer journey, you guys are influencing them that, hey, remember, we're still the best in the area for this, all the way from search to sold. From that side, I'd envision the Google My Business page for the business as your billboard, as your storefront, showing 95% of customers that start their search on Google exactly who you are and what you stand for as a business. And that isn't just the positive reviews. It's the way you respond to negative reviews and all of those things as well, which we can definitely give some great templates and tips on as well. Moving in, the final myth. myth is Google just prioritizes the best ranking businesses regardless of whether they are local or not. Now, from that side, that is again very much false. We want to bust that myth. Google prioritizes local businesses in the results for local searches, and that's why you really do need to optimize for local SEO. That MPAQ is now, I think, accounting for 76% of all click-throughs when people are searching through. That has obviously a lot of really great calls to action for you guys as well. Straight from your Google My Business page, you have the ability for customers to call you, you have the ability for customers to jump onto your website, we have the ability for customers to do all of those great things straight from that search. So yes, organic SEO is still important. Any investment that we put into Google, I still think is important when it comes to, doing Google ads and all of those avenues. You need to do what's best and what's working for you as a business owner. But when it does come to Google itself, we want you to be showing up every time in those local search results so that people can really trust you as a business, as well as help them along their customer journey. Our biggest thing here at Podium is we want to make sure that we're working with really reputable businesses within the space as well. It's, one of the real key leading factors of our partnership with Master Plumbers of Queensland. We want to make sure that we're promoting the best businesses out there around town as well. That is like a little bit of most of the myths. This is how Google actually determines that local search. So there's three different major factors that come into it. Relevance, so how close to the search terms that are coming through. The distance, how close is it to the middle? So if I'm searching, for example, like a plumber in Gold Coast, how close is it to that center of Gold Coast? Or if I'm searching plumber near me, how close is it to the person searching? As I showed before with the near me searches, they are the highest growing segment of searches within Google itself. So that's something that we really want to be focusing on. And then the prominence. So is your business prominent in the offline world? Is it reviewed regularly? All of those different factors really come into it. So when it comes to that local search piece, it is a little bit less confusing than organic SEO. Google has actually built out a few different things. When I mention prominence, what we're talking about within there is the reviews actually. They've built out key terms within the reviews. So what we've seen isn't just people searching for plumber near me. People will search for that real precise term of drain clearer near me or hot water systems near me. So we want to make sure that not only from our side as that our customers are leaving us a review, but the quality and the content of the review actually play a really big factor into local search as well. And that's why I'd really encourage you guys to respond to each of those reviews coming through as well. When it comes to it, even using some of those key terms, when it comes to it, Google loves Google. So any information that you can flood into it about your business, whether it be key terms, all of those different things, it's going to pay really big dividends in the back end when people are searching from that side. So that's his myths are busted from that end. And as I mentioned, please challenge me, ask me any questions on anything that I've run through on those local SEO myths. I'd love to answer any of your questions here at the end. But now we've busted the myths, what's next? We want to optimize your directory listings. So this is really talking directly to your Google My Business page. So you need to make sure that you've claimed your business on Google My Business, or if you haven't even created a listing, definitely do that. I can send through any info that you need on how to create a Google My Business page. They are free. And it is, as I mentioned, the new digital storefront. It's the digital billboard for the business to show that you're open, relevant, and all of those things. You want to make sure we're reviewing and updating details. That very much helps in terms of Google just knowing you're open, and they should be prioritizing you as a business as well. Uploading photos. One of the best things I could suggest when it comes to this, take a photo of the team, take a photo of the trucks, take a photo of these things. The Google My Business page setup can be a little frustrating from that side of you need to give them a physical address to verify your listing. So quite often what will pop up is, say, a photo of your house that pops up on that listing. We obviously don't want a photo of your house coming through. We'd rather a really good photo of like your van, your truck, your team, all of those different things on your Google My Business page as well. And then we want to include the keywords in the descriptions. So this is what's called metadata. I don't know why they try and make it so confusing, but including the keywords on the photos itself. So when you upload a photo onto Google, onto your Google My Business page, it does say it's optional, so you don't really have to worry about it, but very much worry about it. Google only knows what it is shown. So anytime that you have an opportunity to give Google some data, so whether it be putting up a photo of the van and just putting in, you know, all of the key terms that matter to you on your local listing, it's going to make a really, really big difference in the long run as well. And then an obvious one of keeping your hours of operation up to date. Obviously want to know people if we're, you know, a 24/7 service, customers want to know that they can still access and speak to you all throughout that time for emergency work. That pro tip, make your name, address, and phone number match exactly on your directory profile and on your website header and footer as well. It really does help in terms of local search, but also makes it really easy from the customer's side to navigate and make sure that they're all working through on the same business, like that they're speaking to the right people as well. So to claim that listing and break that down more thoroughly, so claiming a listing, you'll need a personal Google account. You just need to jump onto Google My Business, search for your business using its name or address. You confirm your name, address, and then fill out all the information. And then it's you get a verification by Google. It's in the form of postcard phone. They can sometimes do it from an instant or a bulk way if you do have multiple Google My Business pages from that as well. As I mentioned, please throw in the chat if you don't have a listing, or if the listing's been put up and you haven't claimed it. I can very much help you with that here. The team at Podium can very much help you with that as well from that side. Let's fill in the blanks. So from that side of like really optimizing that listing, so just start by answering like where you are, what you do, and when you do it. One of the really big things around this, I know a lot of you target multiple different suburbs around, and you really want to be showing up in those searches right across the board. So just figure that out, map that out, and then make sure we're adding all of those different avenues. So the photos, describing the photos, and then on those photos themselves, adding all the keywords to help you in all of those different regions as well. Service areas on Google My Business pages, as we're talking about that, a lot of people that I'm speaking to across the board haven't factored that in or built that out yet, and that'd be something that I would very much look after as a business. So what it will come up, instead of just a one physical address when we talk about local SEO, it actually showed the entire service area. So if you were to say look after all of Gold Coast, it will actually bring up a map of all of Gold Coast as your target area of where you work. And that's something that, again, if you haven't seen that before, let me know. I can very much help you out with that as well. Tail the tape. I've mentioned this a heap throughout the presentation, but one of the fastest, most impactful ways to improve your online ranking is collecting and managing those online reviews. We've been through a few of those stats before, but 84% of Australian consumers say reviews influence them in discovering a local business. And as I mentioned as well, you're not just influencing your customers, you're giving them that confirmation bias that you're the right person to be dealing with at the business, but you're actually influencing Google as well, which is the main aim of the game. 62% of Australians have read an online review in the last week. And then I know we said 7% would be the ones that would be the ones who would choose a business that's on a 1 to 2 star rating. But the majority of data says that 3.5 is a minimum star rating that Australians would choose when it comes to engaging with a business. So making sure that you are on top of that 3.5, we definitely want to make sure that you're showing up in those avenues. Really interestingly, reviews and having that constant flow, we know we work so hard to generate them and work through all of those things. We want to try and steer our customers to actually leave really good content when it comes to reviews as well. So reviews being recent, being frequent is a big challenge, but one of the real key pieces when it comes to that local SEO piece, we've mentioned a lot about key terms and all of those different avenues, trying to get your customers to say it on a review. And the best process for that is not only using a software like Podium to make the review instantly, you can send it via text straight to their phone, but is that actual communication while you're still in person with the customer. So just going, hey, I know I looked after your hot water system. It actually really helps me if you mention that on the review. If you have some time, I'd love for you to leave it. All of those different factors, all of those different talk tracks that we can build around is super, super important. And we have, it's so important to have all of those different things. So the factors that break down in terms of reviews overall, so the recency of them, we mentioned that we need a constantly replenishing field of reviews to show up in that local search. The frequency, obviously along the same line, just how long have you had that long-term approach of generating reviews to show Google that you're consistently that best in that area. The quality is what I was just speaking through as well. And then the quantity, obviously the overall amount. So 69% of consumers agree or somewhat agree that they don't trust a high review rating unless there are a high quantity of reviews. So what's that speaking to of, yep, we may have a perfect 5-star, but at 7 reviews, we don't really trust that. We want more. We want more from that, from a customer's side to really stand out amongst the pack. So from that side, instead of just large quantities at once, it is that really consistent approach from that your customers really do want to see. I hope that from this, at least a few people on the call are motivated to generate reviews, or at least ask customers at the end of this to be leaving reviews a little bit more often. But with all the data that we're seeing, is having a really long-term approach to focusing on these reviews makes a really big difference. We've actually got a 2021 State of Reviews report that from customer data that we've gathered over the last little bit, and can very much send that out. Just message in the chat if you would like access to that report. It's some quite interesting stuff. That makes me sound a bit nerdy. I do really love reviews, but trust me, there is actually some really good pieces in there. But step-by-step guide on gathering high-quality reviews obviously starts with trusting your internal process, managing all of those things. So you want to deliver high quality customer service. I know it's a point one. It is the most obvious one, but that's it from that side. Focusing on the customer experience will help you build an army of advocates. Word of mouth is changing for us as a society in Australia, and 66% of customers will leave a brand they love after just one bad experience. So we definitely want to make sure that we're consistently delivering great results so that your customers turn into customers for life. That's next thing that goes wrong in their house, we want them to think, oh, I need that exact plumber back because their last service was so incredible. Setting the expectations, I touched on this before, it's super important. Just simply asking, obviously giving an easier way for the customers to do it, but then really trying to coach them through the process. The best examples that we've seen from sending out a review request is still when you're with the customer, just working with them, being like, hey, this is actually a really big driver of business for me. If you could take 30 seconds out of your day to leave me a review, I'd be super grateful. Just setting that expectations that you really do want it from that side can go a long way. And then Podium's piece, invite via text. So your customers are already on their phones. It's time to start meeting where they're at. Text messages have a 99% open rate. And then from our side, it isn't just about making the customer see it. Our review process is about making it easier for your end customers to leave the review. If you've ever left a Google review yourself, you know it's quite a bit of a process trying to remember all of those different avenues, passwords, and the prompts that go through. The really cool thing is that's typically where your customers are logged into all things Google. So if you are inviting out via text, which is what we specialize here at Podium, as you send through that invite, they can actually click through. And the reason we do it on their phone, if they're logged into anything, Google, YouTube, any of those avenues on their mobile browser, it will actually take them through that login process so they can really quickly leave a review. And that's really what it's all about in terms of it. It's obviously going to have a massive benefit from your local search, but then also influence all of your customers as well. That is really it from me. I'd love to see any of the questions that have come through from that side. Love to hear from all of you. Obviously, our details are down in there. If you do have any further questions afterwards, feel free to reach out to me directly or any of the numbers that are below. Awesome. Thanks, Dylan. That was really informative. I think, I got some things out of that for our Google My Business listing as well. I'll kick us off with a few questions that I had, and then, as we've said, if you've got any questions, put them in the chat now, and we will get to those as well. So I suppose for me, with the Google My Business listing, for MPAQ specifically, because we technically service all of Queensland, and having that service area saying near me is a bit impossible when it's all over the place, but we want to be showing up all over Queensland. So should we be creating multiple listings so that we are covering different areas? Yeah, that's where Google really has helped out with that service area piece. So what we want to be showing up in that MPAQ when it comes to that is really having a broad territory that's showing through. So you can jump onto your Google My Business listing. It will actually show whether to have a physical address or whether to look after a service area. So you're just showing Google that, yep, we work with Brisbane, we work with Townsville, we work with obviously Gold Coast. All of that's going to be encompassing when it comes to that local search piece as well. We do find that's because it is quite hard to generate a Google My Business page, you do need a physical location attached to it. Working through with service areas is what Google has built out to really help with that piece. Is there much there for, like, if you've got two physical locations? Yeah, absolutely. Set up a separate one for each. So creating 4 physical locations, definitely set that up in 2 different avenues, and that's very much going to help. And the same in the same side, you can very much do the same thing and have 2 different service areas. If you say Gold Coast, you look at Gold Coast and everything south, and then have a physical location in Brisbane and look up after everything north. That is very much what can help from that end.
Cool. And so I'm getting all these reviews, they're all coming in. Should I be responding to every single one of them, or just to some of them, or?
Every single one. Super important. One of the best examples in terms of managing negative reviews. I'll start there. Obviously, negative and positive, we want to be responding to both. But from a customer's side, I know I'm very much the same. When I'm checking out a restaurant, for example, and I see they have a 1-star review, I just want to see that the business is trying to do something from that avenue. And really, we don't want to get into a war of words on a public forum on Google. If someone is doing the wrong thing and mentioning things that aren't true, simply add in, hey, thanks so much for your feedback. We would love to sort this out with you. Please give us leave an email address or a contact number, just so that your future customers that are looking through go, great, if I have a negative experience, they're here to help me throughout that, in the same way that we obviously want to be helping out, thanking all of our customers for the 5-star feedback as well, using those key terms and key terms, to help us in those searches from both the positive and negative side. Responding to reviews is definitely one of the step ones of just showing Google that you're, like Google as a business, that you're still working relevant and managing all of those things as well.
Yeah, and I think even if somebody comes along and sees the negative review, if they can see that you've tried to resolve it, I think that goes a long way.
Yeah,
well.
The average consumer will read 3 reviews. That's what the data is shown from our perspective. So they'll typically read 2 positive, and they'll actually go searching for a negative one, which is quite funny. But it is that piece of, cool, we've got a really good bank of reviews. They can see the positive ones. They know I'm the right business. But then just showcasing that, you're happy to sort out any issues if there's a negative one. Really quite generic responses from my side. Some of the better ones to use from, this is me talking personally, just from a, hey, we're happy to take this conversation on offline, instead of getting into a war with words. At the end of the day, that's what the customer's trying to engage with if they are leaving negative feedback.
Yeah, I think you did just kind of touch on it then. That was going to be actually my next question. Is there such a thing as a business being too highly reviewed for a consumer? Like if they see a business and there's just, 500 reviews and they're all positive, is that can that affect things?
It is quite we do get that quite often. We've got quite a few customers around that see that. Not particularly. From that side, there's always going to be that, this is speaking to the broader general public that come to it. If you yourself see, 5 stars and 1,000 reviews, your usual response would be to look into the reviews. And just find that negative one that's coming through, or seeing if they're using business name, or seeing if that person reviews in that local area quite often. And they're the factors that really help. That's obviously it does come up quite a bit, but in terms of it, that frequency and recency really helps you show up in those searches. And if it's one of the best problems if you have too many 5-star feedbacks. It's one of the best problems I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I think if you see a business and they've got 1,000 5-star reviews and they're all from people that have names like Joe Blogs or Jane Smith, you're going to kind of start to question, these might be dummy ones.
might be fake, and that's a really cool side. Like Google knows that, they appreciate it, and they have that on their page. You can see the reviews that are coming through, just how many you know, how many customers, like how many other reviews they've left for other businesses and all of those avenues. And at the end of the day, that's why all reviews do need a Google account attached to actually make sure that the reviews coming through are very valid. And then from that side, that's where, again, just speaking to the quality of reviews that are coming through. If, for example, I'll use Joe as the main one. If it's, you know, Joe's Plumbing that you're calling into and all the reviews are mentioning Joe, and then you first answer and you call up and go, hey, this is Joe speaking, you know that you're on the right track and everything's running through.
Yeah. So Peter's just put up a comment saying that he obviously totally gets the whole with text messaging responding straight away, but it can get quite hard to respond to text messages, especially when you're a sole trader. You're getting a lot of text messages, you're wanting to respond to them immediately. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, it is hard to respond. Like from a sole trader side, we have actually done a heap with the platform to try and make this as easy as possible. What I would suggest, Peter, I'm more than happy to chat to you after this as well. Work through with templates. So just have some really solid, one or two lines that you can copy across and paste across for your reviews. Obviously personalize it, thank the person from that side, and then try and work through with the best way possible. That is the feedback that we hear from all of our sole traders, and I touched on it before, but there are so many different avenues that you have to look after. It's the Facebook, it's the phone calls, it's the emails, it's all of those different pieces that you're trying to manage while you're still trying to do your full-time job of emergency work or whatever it is. And that's really where I guess we tried to listen to that, breaking into a little bit around Podium a bit broader. We actually try and funnel all of that into one inbox for you, all of those different avenues to make sure that you can send out templates to make it really easy to manage each point of that, each point of the customer journey as well.
Cool. Yeah, it looks like that might be all the questions. If anyone else has any last minute things to add, feel free to do so in the next minute or so, just while we wrap things up. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you to our partner Podium for helping us put this webinar on, and specifically to you, Dylan, for being here today and for giving us all your insights and the information that you've provided. It looks like, yeah, Lynn's just said she doesn't have any questions, but wanted to thank you for the info. She's taken some things away from today. So, and it's not an area that they've looked into prior to this. So yeah, definitely shared some good info there for us. So thank you. Yeah, a lot of the tips that have been provided today, obviously Dylan's spoken about Podium, and we'll send out some information to everybody afterwards so that if you want to look into Podium, you can do so. But I think it's great that a lot of the tips that have been provided aren't solely reliant on a program like that if you're just getting started with it, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, we will definitely put some info about Podium into our thank you email, which you'll get shortly with a copy of today's video if you want to rewatch anything. Other than that, I hope everyone has a good day, and I hope you've all gotten something out of today's session.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, Summer, for having me. I love working through with Master Plumbers of Queensland. You guys are awesome in terms of the education that you provide for all the members as well. So thanks to you for putting it on. And yeah, if anyone wants to reach out directly and ask any other questions, then yeah, please let us know, and we're more than happy to help.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.